So I've been doing a series of late, as I'm sure you know if you've been watching the BB&J podcast at all, where I'm talking about different marketing terms you may have heard of, may not be familiar with. The whole thing of this is, and especially with the terms that I've been talking about so far, what I've been trying to do is kind of go through the different understandings and approaches to marketing, because when you understand from that perspective, then you can better categorize and kind of tailor the kind of marketing that you're doing for what makes sense for you, right? Because, you know, if you think about it like, oh, well, I need to do marketing, right? So I need to do all this stuff with all these different platforms, reach all these different people in all these different ways, versus, okay, what I want to do is, because I think it makes the most sense, is do something like, you know, content marketing. And to that end, let me focus on the things that are under content marketing, because I want to get that specific result. But understanding the different types of marketing and why they're important, like, you need that if you're going to effectively do your marketing in a way that really gets the job done and really does make sense. So in terms of the question of what is content marketing, right? Content marketing is a form of marketing focused on creating, publishing, and distributing content for a targeted audience online. What does this mean? Putting out content, right, for a specific demographic. So this kind of incorporates some of the other things that we've talked about, and there definitely is overlap with, for example, inbound marketing, and, you know, creating the account-based marketing. And the fact of the matter is they do synergize, and they do have similar concepts. But this kind of marketing is really focused on this kind of marketing is really focused on producing content, getting it out there, distributing it on all the platforms you can, right? So kind of the thing we talk about, kind of the thing that we actually at BB Digital Lab do, where, you know, a good example is we'll take that main piece of content, you know, like, let's say the BB&J podcast, right? I'm putting that out on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. If I remember LinkedIn, I'll share it. You know, I'll share it where I can, because this is the podcast of, this isn't the John Lint podcast. You know, this isn't even the John Lint, a guy who does some copywriting and web design. You know, this is the BB&J podcast for BB Digital Lab, right? So I want to get the brand, the company, out there, doing stuff, talking. You know, I want to be in front of people because I want my brand to be in front of people. Content is a great way to get your face in front of people for a lot less than just running off of ads. You know, the best way to get around a pay-to-play ad system is with content, right? So, I mean, I've talked about this before, but what we do, you know, we have the main BB&J podcast, right? I take that, pull out some quotes, copyright them a little bit, because, you know, what sounds good on writing is different than what sounds good spoken, oftentimes. And I will, you know, get that set up, hand it off to our team, excellent graphic designers, and they'll, you know, whip something great up. And, you know, we have the clips, right? So a lot of people might be, you know, don't necessarily watch the BB&J podcast the full video every week, but you see the clips, right? Or you see the quotes. So in terms of like kind of extrapolating that for the greater brand, right, and content marketing in general, how to put this? The reason that you want to be putting out a lot of content and doing content marketing, the advantage of it primarily is because you don't know what you're going to get them on, right? You don't necessarily know what's going to have them make that decision of, let me actually work with them now. Because you can either do it through the traditional way, or you can have it be a ton of different pushes and motivators through your content, right? So the true power of content marketing is you are getting on different platforms in different ways with different variety, right? So that you're much more likely to reach your intended audience, and because they might not make the decision with your main video, or they might not make the decision with your audio podcast, but maybe they see some of your content shared on LinkedIn, and then they read that, and then they like get into your company through that and your brand through that. You might have a situation where people might not see you at all on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, but they do see you on TikTok. But here's the thing. Unless you're on a sturdy variety of platforms, they're not going to see you. I will end with a little disclaimer, which is that, you want to get on a variety, you want to produce a variety of content, but don't do it to the extent where you basically overwork yourself. Because if you personally are recording, like 50 videos a day and doing all this stuff, well, at the end of the day, you have other obligations, right? There's other uses of your time, especially if you're a business owner. And you just don't have the time to produce that much content. So volume is good. Quality is also, but quality is also very important. I'm not talking about like filming in 1080p or anything. I'm saying tailoring your content for a specific audience, because you want to be tailoring your content to the people who you want to work with. It's kind of that same principle as the account-based marketing, But I think with that little warning at the end, they always put the warnings at the end, right? I'd like to thank you so much for listening and or watching. We're going to be doing a few more episodes of this kind, focusing on marketing terms. So if you have anything you want me to explain, anything you want me to get into in the world of marketing, it doesn't even have to be a term, just like a concept, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to. I'll make sure to get to it. But other than that, thanks so much for listening and or watching, and I will see you next week.